If you've ever wondered why you still don't sound fluent in English or why you keep hesitating when you're about to speak English, it's probably because you forget about one of the most important things when it comes to learning languages, which is reviewing and repetition. And now you get to watch a whole video with my tips on how to do it efficiently. Hey English learners, my name is Chubby. Welcome to my channel for English learners who want to learn how to make vocabulary more memorable and become fluent English speakers with the help of listening and spoken communication. Just like you can't build a house without a solid foundation, you can't become fluent unless you integrate plenty of reviewing and repetition in your language learning routine. We have to remember that whatever you can say fluently, these are things that you have already automatized. And we can't speak English fluently unless you have done a lot of practice with a specific structure or you have practiced using expressions enough. And that's where reviewing and repetition come into place because they are a way of automatizing things. So in this video, we'll dive deep into 6 different ways that you can leverage the power of repetition. Number 1, less is more. One of the biggest mistakes I see a lot of struggling English learners make is that they consume too much content without properly reviewing what they have learned, and your brain cells work in a way that the more they make a certain connection with the help of making memories through language learning, the stronger those connections will be. And I just see too many students getting inundated with grammar structures, useless words sometimes, or pronunciation guides, fluency tips without ever really either implementing them or consolidating them. And honestly, most of them just fade into oblivion. I mean, the expressions, not the struggling learners. But before you say, oh, repetition is so boring, I don't want to do the same thing again, let me show you some really cool ways you could make it both fun and beneficial. One of the best ways you could make sure you pick up more is by reading or listening to something that you have already consumed in some form. And I talk about this in this video as well. The most successful polyglots use this method to make sure that they gain fluency and expand their vocabulary much faster. When you're learning a language, you're basically creating more memories, more connections in your brain. And the more times that memory is triggered, the stronger the memory, the stronger the connection will be, which simply means you'll be able to retain it for longer. And the only way you will gain confidence, basically a better grasp, a better handle at the structures and vocabulary, is if you do repetition. It's extremely important, so much so that systematic repetition is at the core of my 2 programs, the Proficiency Fortress and Spark, where learners get to be exposed to the same material, a modified version, or the material and some supporting exercises to make those connections as strong as they could ever be. And if you think doing this is boring, when I do this, every time I read or listen, I discover something that I missed the previous time, because we always focus on something else. Do you remember how excited you were when you watched your favorite cartoon for the 100th time when you were a kid? This kind of fades away as we grow up, unfortunately. Now let's see the 2 benefits of listening or reading to the same thing. When you listen to something again, you will notice different things. And the more times you do this, the more stuff you will pay attention to. And we all know what a huge role attention and noticing patterns and expressions play in language learning. Plus, every time you listen or read again, you will be able to focus on a different aspect, on something else. For example, grammatical structures one time, the next time collocations, expressions, pronunciation, or communication strategies. By the way, have you downloaded my free ebook that will equip you with 12 ideas on why you're still struggling with your English? Click on the first link in the description and you shall see. Number 3, spaced repetition. Now this is a bit of a controversial topic among productivity coaches, learning gurus or language learning experts, but I still believe that the principles of spaced repetition and what it represents can be easily applied to language learning as well. Did you ever feel anxious before an exam? Or maybe you didn't feel like studying because you had such a huge pile of books or a huge amount of studying ahead of you? Anxiety and stress, they both lead to procrastination, and these are the symptoms or the disadvantages of the traditional studying method, also known as cramming, which is what you probably learned in school. And the reason why this is not the best way to learn a language, or anything else for that matter, is because it doesn't really take advantage of how your brain works and how your memory operates. Now, imagine you could create a healthy study habit that allows you to avoid all this. The idea is that you space out your study sessions and build a sort of deeper understanding for the long term. When it comes to language learning, you need to build long-term memory. One of the reasons I think struggling learners aren't really fluent is because they haven't built a long-term, deeper understanding of structures and expressions in English. And if you use a language learning app with a built-in spaced repetition system, you will find a link to some of my favorites in the description below. You can make sure of two things. When you learn properly, you won't forget expressions so fast, and you also won't spend time reviewing vocabulary that you have already known, you have already automatized, which you would in a more traditional learning setting. I talk about some other effective vocabulary learning techniques in this video, so check it out if you haven't yet. Spaced repetition alone isn't enough most of the times though, because it only gives you the vocabulary. There is no trigger, no connection for your memory, so you can combine it with active recall and a few other things that I will be talking about in a future video. The next one, number 4, is have a study plan. And I know how you feel. You're like, I don't want to plan my life. I don't have time to do this. But believe me that if you are a little bit more intentional about your language learning, you will be able to see so much more progress as well. This is a huge part of my coaching program as well, when every single month we kind of have a look at our past month, reflect on what worked, what hasn't worked, what needs improving. It's really important for us to, no matter how painful it is for us to admit our shortcomings, things we are not good at, things that need improving. And part of goal setting is also reflecting on what has worked and what hasn't worked. You don't want to continue things that didn't work before. But when it comes to making plans, you don't need to think about an extremely serious, rigid study plan. It doesn't have to be that. Just be a bit more intentional with your English. There are 2 things you have to do first, and when it comes to blocking out some extra time, make sure that where you think that speaking fluent English is going to lead you to a better life, a happier life, a free life, then it's important to block out time for that. When I used to be in London, every single time when I had some dead time, I was waiting for my next student, for example, in a cafe, or I was cycling around London, I used to listen to some sort of podcast, or I was watching a short video or a part of an episode. It doesn't even have to be an hour every time. You just need to find ways to use your dead time, and instead of wasting it, just try to put in the effort and do something in English. The second type of time you have to dedicate to English is actually some really laser focused study time, or whenever you do some input but you focus on it and you're not doing anything else, because we know that multitasking isn't always the best thing to do. Always make sure that you laser focus, and if you have problems concentrating, just remember that you are not set in stone, somebody who can never change. Your concentration and your attention span can be improved as well. This is something we also work on with some of my students. It's also important to remember that we don't set goals to achieve all of them. How many of the goals you have set before have you actually achieved? And I'm not saying this because I want to make you feel bad or sad. I'm just telling you that goals are not about achieving them. They are just about giving you a direction. What do I want to focus on the next month, the next week, or even today? So to give you a focus, give you something, some sort of direction towards, goal setting is important. It doesn't matter whether you reach it or not. The progress is so much more important than the result of it. 5, I mentioned several times how I always tell my students to record themselves in their dead time or study time, because it is one of the best ways to work on your fluency. And it also kind of forces you to speak fluently within a limited amount of time. You could learn how to express yourself more succinctly, and eventually, when you're being recorded, I can guarantee that you will be paying more attention to what you're actually saying or how you're saying it. But what I haven't talked about is all the benefits of reviewing a video that you have recorded. A video is basically a testament to what your English sounded like, to what your English was like at a specific time on your language learning journey. And you can always work on it. There's always ways to improve it, to tweak it, and videos are a great way to see where you're currently at, what you need to work on. So whatever different grammatical structures, set of vocabulary or topic you want to talk about in your second, third, or gazillionth video, you will always be able to watch it and see what sort of improvements you need to make to really get to what you're focusing on. So rather than just recording a video and leaving it on the digital shelf collecting digital dust, I suggest you go back to the video a couple of days after or the week after and look at what really needs improvement. This is an excellent way for you to see your gaps and see what necessitates more attention. Look up this video if you want to learn more about some healthy language learning habits that will lead you to success with your English. And with that being said, let's move on to tip number 6, the ultimate tip, especially if you are a bit camera shy or if you have some reservations against video. And this is something that is basically the part and parcel of every single one of my conversation classes, which is to speak about the same topic but to another person. Did you ever feel when it's the first time you've talked about a specific topic, you're kind of looking for words, you aren't really sure how to express yourself properly, even if you use your first language, and you keep saying things like, I've never really thought about this before, just to gain some time. But the next time you are discussing the same topic with someone else, you find it easier to express yourself. Now, the same thing can be applied to your English language journey. In a conversation class, we often talk about one topic in a group or in pairs, and then people come back to the main session on Zoom, where students either discuss it as a class or talk about it with another pair or in another group. This is highly effective because your brain has to go through almost exactly the same process when you talk about the topic you're practicing. You're training your brain, basically, how to retrieve grammar and vocabulary. You're basically practicing how to express yourself better, how to be fluent about the same topic. So I highly recommend you start talking about the same topic with different people just to make it more fun, especially focusing on topic areas that you really need, maybe talking about your job, your hobby, something that you find more difficult to talk about, because I'm absolutely sure talking about the same topic with different people will not only make it more fun, but will also help you speak English fluently in a variety of topics. Now, these are all the 6 tips that I managed to cram into this video for you. Tell me in the comments which of these tips you found useful. Maybe one of them you will start using. Are you going to use any of them? You're also more than welcome to ask any questions you have about learning English, and I will promise I'll do my best to make another video about it. I'd like to say a huge thank you for watching this video. You're amazing. If you liked any of the tips, make sure you give the video a thumbs up or leave a comment with your questions or anything you'd like to share with me. Any sort of support you could give to this channel, I will truly appreciate it. Thank you so much and see you very soon. And as welcome to my channel. My name is Chubby. Vocabulary more memorable and become more memorable and become fluent English speakers. Implement, and that will lead you. Look at this video if you want to find out more about some healthy language learning habits. Find out again. Look at this video if you want to see. Look up this video if you want to find out more. Not find out. Can I just use another word?